Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tessie. It's been a while. I hope you all are doing great. Today we're going to be making this tutorial. If you're new to my channel, you're welcome. If you're yet to subscribe, kindly do that and let's get right into the video. So I have my pattern paper. I'm going to be chalking my shoulder measurement divided by 2. So the shoulder divided by 2, I chalked it down and then I came down to my armhole line. Then from that point, I chalked my bust point, under bust, my waist, and then my top length. So I'll go ahead now to connect my lines. After doing that, I indicated my chest line, bust point, under bust, my waistline, and then I have my top length. For the neckline, I'll be making use of 3 by 3 inches, and then I connected my neckline. At the shoulder area, I'll be coming down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope. So I'll go ahead now to connect my shoulder. So I'll check what I have at the armhole area. I'll divide it into 2, and then from that point, I'll come in by half inch. And then at the chest line, I'll place my bust measurement divided by 4. So the bust divided by 4 is 8. I chalked down my 8 inches at that point, and then I'm going to be curving in my armhole. So what I'll be doing next is placing my nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2. So the nipple to nipple divided by 2 is 4 inches. I chalked it down and connected it into a straight line. So guys, it's a princess that bustier. So what we need to do is from this point that we have here, we're going to connect it to that line. So I'll use my curve ruler to do that. And then we're going to be placing in the dart. So the dart will be taken at this side of the pattern. So I'll be using 1.5 inches. But for somebody that is bigger, 2 inches is good. So I'll connect from the under bust to the bust point line. But before I do that, I'll come down by half inch and I'll go up by half inch to eliminate pointiness. So from my under bust, I'll connect to that half inches line. At this side of the pattern, I'll be making use of 1 inch for my dart. But for somebody that is big, you can use 1.5 inches. So I used 1 inch at this point, as you can see. Then I'll connect it to that half inches line we have there using my curve ruler. So what I'll be doing next is replacing my darts. So now the dart we took here is 1 inch. I'm going to replace it back here at this point so that when joining the both will align. So I replace back the 1 inches that we took, and then I'm going to just connect the line. So what I'll be doing next is taking out the areas I'll be taking off. So what I'll do next is check what I have here and replace it back at the chest line area, and then I'll also be adding 2 inches for my sewing allowance. So from this side, I'll just connect to the chest line. So this will be my armhole, my new armhole. So what I'll do next is place my body measurement at the under bust, my bust divided by 4. I'll replace back the dart I took, and then I'll be adding 2 inches for my sewing allowance. At the waistline, my waist measurement divided by 4, replace back my dart, and also add 2 inches. At the top length, I'll be placing my hip measurement divided by 4. So guys, at the hip, I'm going to place my hip measurement divided by 4, replace back the dart. So since this top is a bit bigger at the hip area, it's not your actual hip, so you need to add to your hip measurement. So I'm going to be adding extra 2 inches to my hip measurement. You can add 3 inches, 4 inches. It depends on how big you want it to be. After adding 2 inches, I added 2 inches for my sewing allowance as well, which is total of 4 inches. So I'll go ahead now to connect my lines. So we are good to go. At the bust point line, I'll come down there by 1 inch for my bust darts. So at the bust line, I came down by 1 inch, and then from that point, I'm just going to connect it to the bust point line. So I'll take out this area. I'll also be taking it off. So guys, we are good to go. I'll go ahead now to cut out my pattern. So guys, you need to note I am not making this dress. It's just a tutorial I'm making for you guys. So what I will do is I'm going to open up the pattern. So I'll replace back whatever I have here at this other side of the pattern. So you need to note, if you are making this as a dress, cut out your center front, cut out your side, join them before we are going to be cutting out the slant we have at the waistline area. But since this is a tutorial, I've gone ahead to draft out the same thing I have at this other side as well. So I'm going to take out my dart and then we're good to go. So guys, this is what it looks like. I'll label my lines. As you can see, I have my top length, waist, under bust, and my bust point. So after joining your fabric together, that's the front part, you come down at the waistline area by 2 or 3 inches. So for me, I came down by 2 inches, and then from that 2 inches point, I'm going to curve it to the other end. So I'll curve it to this point. So I came down by 2 inches at this point. I came down by 2 inches, and then I'm going to curve. So please use your curve ruler to do that. So I'm just using my free hand. Anyone that works for you is fine. So I'm just going to close the dart at this point and then curve it to this other point, coming up by 1.5 inches. So you can see what I did there. So for this other point too, we are going to curve it to this extreme end. So before doing that, you also close the dart. So since this is a tutorial, I'm closing the dart as you can see. And then from that point, you curve it to this other end. So I'm just going to use my curve ruler to do that. So from that point, I curved it to this other end. At the down part of this point as well, I came up by 1.5 inches and I curved. So this is it. This is what it looks like. If you are cutting on your fabric, this is what it should look like. So guys, I hope you guys are not confused. It's just because I do not want to sew this. That's why I open up the pattern. I just only wanted to draft it for you guys. So what you need to do if you want to sew it is to join your center front and the side together. And then from the waistline, you come down to 2 or 3 inches. And from this point here, you curve it to the other end. So you come down by 2 or 3 inches and then you curve it to this point here, and also come down here by 2 or 3 inches and then you curve it to this other point. So that's what I did. So I'll go ahead now to cut out my pattern. So guys, if you've watched the video to this point and you're yet to subscribe or like this video, kindly do that and let's get right back. So after cutting out my pattern, I'm going to cut out my bust dart as well. So I'm going to slash it to this point and then replace it back using my tape. I'll do the same thing for this other side and then blend the edges. So guys, we're good to go with the front. For the back, I don't know how the back of this dress is, but I'm just going to be making it a normal back bustier. So what you need to do is to chalk your 2 inches for your zipper allowance. So my shoulder divided by 2, I chalked it down. I came down to my armhole. Then for the half length of the half length of the back is shorter than the front half length because of the bust that we took. So if your half length normally is 16 inches, your back half length will be 15 inches. So the full length of this top is 24 inches for the front, but the full length of the top for the back will be 23 inches. Hope you understand. So I'll go ahead now to connect all my lines. So guys, after connecting the lines, for the neckline, I'm making use of 3 by 1.5 inches for the back. I connected it, connected my shoulder slope. At the chest line, I'll place my nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2. I'll connect it all the way down to the top length. So what I'll be doing next is taking my dart. So at the waistline, I'll be taking ½ inch on both sides. Then I'll connect it all the way down to the top length and I'll connect it all the way up to the chest line. So this is going to be a princess dart at the back as well. So what I'll do is from this point here, I'm just going to connect it all the way to the line and then we're going to be placing our measurements. So at the chest line, my bust divided by 4 plus 2 inches for sewing allowance. At the waist, my waist divided by 4. I'll replace back the dart I took and I'll also be adding 2 inches for sewing allowance. I'll connect my lines. At the hip line, that's at the top length, I'll place my hip measurement divided by 4. You know this top is a bit bigger at the hip area, so I'll be adding extra 2 inches at the hip line. Then I'll add 2 inches for my sewing allowance. So you're good to go. I'll go ahead now to connect from the waist to the top length. So guys, at this point here, I also come up by 1.5 inches and curve it in. So guys, what we'll be doing next is eliminating zipper bulge. At the waistline area, I came in by 0.75. I slash all the way up and slash all the way down. So we are good to go. I labeled my zip allowance line and we are cutting out our pattern. So guys, for those finding this hard to sew, this is the pattern drafting. I hope this was helpful. We're good to go with the tutorial. Please make sure to subscribe, like this video, drop a comment. I hope you guys are following me on